Good morning. This is going to be a review about what occurred during the week. So I'll just walk you through price as kind of let you know how my train of thought is as I'm taking this place. I am not going to edit this video, so if I make mistakes, just bear with me. All right, in front of you, you have the daily chart of Nasdaq, and then you have the daily candles here. This is Friday. If you notice here, Wednesday swept Tuesday. We had C3 Thursday go low and C4 Friday go low. Now, I don't typically use C5 when you got a C2 closure from here, C3, C4, C5. I don't do that. What I do is I look at continuations, see how Friday's candle closed relative to Thursday's. And so there's three ways I get my bias. I get my bias from C2 closures, which in this is a perfect example, C2, C3, C4. Or I get continuation bias, right? In this case, is a good example as well. Friday close below Thursday's low. So you could potentially have Monday go lower. And there's another way I get my bias at the midpoint of previous day. Above is bullish, below is bearish. But this is a little bit more advanced. I would recommend you to stick to the two I just mentioned. Now, this is pretty standard. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put Friday's high, then Friday's low, and then you're gonna mark the midpoint. That's all you need to do. And this will be previous day midpoint, which in this case will be Friday. You can even name it Friday. Okay. And what you want to watch is above midpoint bullish, below bearish, right? But this is a great example for me to show you. My bias is bearish, so I'm looking for sales. So I don't really care if price starts to go higher. I focus on what the bias is unless I start seeing other things that align with the bullish scenario. In this case, I'm staying bearish, okay? So we're once we have this framework here on the daily, which is the main one that you should be focusing on, then we move into the hourly chart. And on the hourly chart, you will see this is the daily candle, and this is the hourly candles. I trade 9 or 10, 11, 12. And so I fast forward this to 9 o'clock. Um, that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So notice that we have a bearish bias, right? And we're above previous day midpoint. I always preach if we're above, then we go high. We go below, we could potentially go low, right? So in here, it's setting up for a move to the downside, but it's a little less probability when you're above midpoint. But what I do is I look at the other indices, right? I look at YM and I look at ES. So when I go to ES, you notice that ES had a C2 closure as well here. 9 swept 8 o'clock. Now potentially 10 can go lower. Now, what do you notice here? This is the weakest asset, weaker than NQ, I should say, because we had a C2 closure and the 9 o'clock candle closed below previous day low. So then if I had to decide between NQ and ES, I would take it on ES because this is the weakest asset. We're below the midpoint that I've always watched. But also, I look at YM. And I don't often take trades on YM, but when it aligns, I do. Notice where YM is relative to its previous day midpoint, way below. Weaker than ES, obviously weaker than NQ. So we do have a C2 closure as well. You notice that 9 came up, swept 8, and now we close below, right? What could be a potentially target? Well, previous day low here. Previous day high is here, previous day low is here. So once I have this framework in line, right, I'm gonna take it on the weakest asset. And I think that's what I did that day. I chose the weakest asset and I took it there. So what I do is I mark the midpoint of 9 o'clock candle, right? You want the 5 minute candles to respect that and go lower. You don't want 5 minute candles start closing above it because then most likely it's gonna hit previous day high. Once you have your framework, right? I always like to look to the left to see if there was a fair value gap that it has some sort of resistance going through it, and I don't have it. I'll go to the 4 hour now, and then in the 4 hour, what do you see? You also see 6 o'clock 4 hour candle sweeping 2 o'clock 4 hour candle. So now you could potentially have C3 come lower on the 4 hour too. So you have two time frames that are aligning. Once I do that, I already have my framework, right? And I'm already I already chose the weakest asset, which is YM, just like I explained. What I do is I want preferably 10 o'clock to open high and then go low to target the previous day low. Now notice how 9 sweeps 8, then potentially C3, 10 o'clock on the hourly chart can go lower. Notice how 6 swept 2, now potentially C3 in the 4 hour chart can go lower. And notice where this is all happening below previous day midpoint, right? This day, I always recommend for you to trade C3 if you're a beginner, right? This day I decided to trade C2 because of all these confluences that I'm telling you. I believe my entry was done at 950 as 950 went into this order block here. And that was my entry. My stop is at this high here. I don't put it all the way up here because if it goes all the way up here, then it's just gonna take previous day high. So, and I don't want price to go above the midpoint of previous day either. So my play will get invalidated if it comes over here. So I enter here. But again, if you're a new trader, I would recommend you to do C3. In this case is this. Now, I always want the candle to go high first and then go low and give me an intra change in state of delivery. Now, the only exception that I'll go and do this is that if price, when it open at 10, goes into a POI, which is a 5 minute fair value gap, then I'll enter. Then I'll enter here. Um, Notice how I don't have an up close candle here for an intraday change instead of delivery, but you could have entered here right at 10 because it went into this POI, right? You want this to be respected. My stop loss will be above that fair value up there. And when you enter, again, I've already entered up here, but when you enter, you can enter at this, at the top of that fair value up there, and then shoot for your 2R. Your 2R is somewhere over here, right? Your stop loss could be above that candle there. And then we see, and we let it play out, and then you hit 2R. You even hit previous day low, I believe, this day. Yep, you hit previous day low this day, so he gave you more than 2R. He gave you 3.5 R, right? So this is an example of me not having an intraday change instead of delivery, right? What I mean by that is an up close candle, then a down close candle closing below it, and then entering my trade. Like right here. Like this is a perfect example. Up close candle, down, this is where I enter. And then you go lower, right? But if you would be trading C3 and you have this POI here, that will be the only time I go in there. You want this POI to be respected and then go lower. And so that would have given you your 2R. But notice how this all um, originated from the daily chart, right? The bias that we had on the daily chart. Now, if we go look at ES and YM and NQ, you had NQ here at around 1055 with this candle here, 1055. If you would have taken it on NQ here, again, NQ was above the previous day midpoint. But if you would have taken an NQ, look at 1055 when this candle hit midnight here, YM took previous day low right there. And so when that happens, if you take previous day, if YM takes previous day low and NQ and ES doesn't, then that's a bullish S&T. Price can start retracing from there, right? And that's exactly what it did here. When price YM hit previous day low, then price started to retrace to the upside. Now let's look at ES. ES also had a similar setup here, and ES did what I normally want price to do, right? Notice how 10 o'clock open, you have an up close candle here, went up, and then it changed state of delivery right here. So what you could have done is, if you took it on ES, and we're below midpoint, by the way, if you took it on ES, you could either enter there with your stop loss there, and then shoot for 2R, but it didn't give it to you, or allow price to go back into the order block here, that 10 o'clock up close candle, to get a better entry, to possibly get your 2R, and then you would have gotten your 2R there. But this is where patience comes into play, because it's easy for me to tell you, wait, let it retrace, because if you're a new trader, once you're in there, you're gonna think, oh man, it's leaving me. It's gonna go without me. I'm just gonna enter now, and you get a very shitty entry. And so this is where you have to say very disciplined and say, no, I'm gonna allow it to come back into this order block to get a better entry so I can get my 2R. But you have to master yourself there. You have to master what you're doing. You have to master being patient, not having fear of missing, like FOMO. It's gonna leave me. I'm gonna miss out on this play. Um, and that's hard to do. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That's hard to do. Even me, sometimes I enter. I don't let it retrace all the way up. For the most part, I do, but sometimes I get a little impatient, and I do that sometimes. In this case, let me give you an example of NQ, right? With the same framework that we did, 10 o'clock open high, which that's what we want, and then go low, change the state of delivery. But if you enter when this candle changes state of delivery right here, and you have to put your stop loss above this high here, look at where 2R is at. 2R is all the way by midpoint. And so you wouldn't have gotten 2R. You wouldn't have gotten 2R here because price reversed after it took previous day low on YM. But if you would have allowed it to come back to the order, if you would have been patient, put your stop loss there, you would have gotten 2R there when price retraced into that. But again, can you control yourself? Can you wait? Can you be patient and say, no, it's going to leave me? If you allow it to come back here, you would have gotten your 2R here. So that all comes to have you master and control yourself. And that's very tough. That's very hard to do. But it's very possible to do. But sometimes you get impatient and get a bad feel. Anyways, this all started from the daily chart, right? Because we were bearish on the daily chart. And then that's why you always have to watch other indices. You just don't, you have to watch what did YM do? It took previous day low. Okay, then we might have a deeper retracement. We might reverse. We might go out to previous day high now. What happened? Did he Incute hit midnight? That's another point of interest where price usually reacts from there. And this is midnight right here. Usually when price also reaches the midpoint, like coming over here, it hit the midpoint and then it reversed. You have to, it's like a whole holistic approach. It's not just like one thing, right? You have to pay attention to other things. And that only comes with screen time, with back testing data, with having data, forward testing, hindsight testing. It all comes from years of experience. That's why when I see new traders trying to do all these extra things and they haven't gotten the screen time. You need experience for this. And that's where a lot of people get impatient and they don't allow pattern recognition because essentially we're recognizing patterns here. Your brain starts to, oh, I've seen this before. This is what it does. It's just like here. Oh, I've seen it before. When it hits midnight, most likely it's going to go higher. When it hits a previous midpoint of the previous day, it's probably going to go higher. When it hits previous day low, it's probably going to go back. All that is pattern recognition. So that is the play I took on YM on Monday. My breakdown is my previous the previous post I made. Let me know if you have any questions.